Good evening, folks. Welcome back. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. And it's time to remind people about the Refugee Program. No, I'm not asking anybody to participate. I'm also not asking you to not participate. That is not my role. My role is to bring you honest, lucid, cogent, insightful analysis, and that's what I do. And so I need to make something very clear. A lot of people write to me and say, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of South Africa. I got to get out. My home was broken into. I was robbed. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this many times on my program. I'm sorry to hear that you've been a victim of crime, but so have 35 or 45 or 50 million other South Africans. Crime is not the basis for being granted refugee status. People are murdered, sexually violated, robbed, carjacked, all over the world, including America. We don't give refugee status to people for a crime, generally speaking. In South Africa, if you are a victim of crime and that's the reason that you're applying for the program and you get interviewed, you may very well find yourself brokenhearted if your goal is to get out of South Africa, because that's not a basis for getting out. The basis for getting out and coming to the U.S. is because you're suffering from unjust racial persecution. If the crime is perpetrated in the name of racism because of your skin color being Indian or colored or white, well, then you have a case. But simply being a victim of crime, even horrific crime, having been shot, is not a basis to get out. If you think it's a basis to get out, then you don't understand what a refugee is. A refugee is a person who needs refuge. They need succor. They need protection. They need to be removed from the environment they're in because they're in grave danger. That is refugee. I'm not trying to be condescending to people, but I continue to get dozens and dozens and hundreds, literally, of messages from people who want to get out of South Africa because they're victims of crime. And while I empathize with you, that's not a basis to leave the country unless the crime is a consequence. For instance, a farm murder. People are attacked on farms in an effort to drive them off the farms. If you can articulate a genuine fear based on that, well, then that would be a basis. I'm not coaching anybody here. I'm just explaining to you that you're wasting your time and energy and the U.S. government's time if you're simply a victim of crime. If your home's been broken into, if you've been violated some way, that is not going to be sufficient normally. Now, I don't want to discourage you. If you want to put your intake questionnaire in now, because we've gone from an email to the PRM to a statement of interest, and to now the third option, which is the only way to get into the program now, is an intake questionnaire on the U.S. Embassy website located at za.usembassy.gov. If you want to do that, go ahead and do it. By the way, once again, for the probably 100,000th time, if not a billionth time, the program is not for farmers. The program is not for Afrikaners. The program is not for white South Africans. And when Ronald Lamola claims it is, he's lying. He's lying. And when CNN claims that it's for white Afrikaners, they're also lying. They take statements that Donald Trump says, answering questions in hyperbole, and they translate that into what they want to believe. The reality is this program, since it was published on the 10th of February on the U.S. Embassy website, 2025, has always said racial minorities. When this first came about on the 7th of February, around 5 p.m., and I went live 2 hours after that, roughly, with a live broadcast for like 4.5 hours, I said that it says Afrikaners, but I anticipate that it would be ethnic or racial minorities. And in fact, that is exactly what happened. Now, the media still lie about this program every single day in South Africa, in the U.S., around the world. The reality is this. There are colored South Africans who are currently living in America amongst the at least 500 plus people who've arrived here because refugees started coming over again just a few days ago. There are at least coloreds and Indians. And I know for a fact that black South Africans married to white South Africans are not accepted and who are attacked racially because they're married to a white, Afrikaans-speaking South African have found themselves also being processed in the program. I can't claim that any have arrived yet, but there have been people in that circumstance. So in the end, there will be whites, Afrikaans speaking, some of whom will be farmers, many who won't be farmers. There will be whites who are just South Africans. There will be coloreds. There will be Indians, and even, yes, a few black South Africans, which is what I predicted back in February. And it's all true. And if you don't believe me, you don't have to believe me. I show you the receipts all the time. Just go to the U.S. Embassy website. It's still there. it still says who qualifies. You must be a South African national. You must be living in South Africa. You must be an Afrikaner or a racial minority, and you must articulate a genuine fear of past persecution or future persecution. There you have it, folks. There's no rocket science to this. There's no complaint. But I want to explain one more time before we wrap this up. Being a victim of crime is not a basis for refugee status. And the leftists and the black supremacists and the hate wankers who are in the media and in society in South Africa, including the politicians, are constantly saying, well, everyone's a victim of crime, trying to play whataboutism. But in this case, whataboutism does apply, because it doesn't matter if you're a victim of crime unless that crime is perpetrated against you on the basis of your race or some other reason. If you're gay, okay, that might be a basis. All right? So there you have it. I felt it was necessary to make this video as we approach the Christmas season. Okay? That's how it is. Good luck. Cheers.